Man, I was tired after watching this one. And I'm not saying I was sleepy. Like, this isn't a boring movie. It's quite the opposite, actually. I found this film, like, completely engrossing. But Hirokazu Koreeda has a way of manipulating your emotions so deftly that I was exhausted. One scene, I would be laughing and getting the warm and fuzzies from, like, a character interaction. The next, I would be holding my head in my hands, like pleading that a character's going to be okay. In one scene, my heart rate broke to like 80 beats a minute, and that was just out of sheer anxiety. Like, it wasn't that this film's completely horrific, but the anxiety I was feeling while watching this film, parts of this film, I should say, is like the man is an emotional terrorist in a cinematic sense, and he just makes phenomenal films. Like, this is so heartbreakingly good, and the writing is so emotionally intelligent. The first third of this movie is like, we need to talk about Kevin. The second half morphs into like The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. And the third, I won't spoil, but it goes somewhere completely different to the first two. Now, caveat, this movie is entirely based around the mental health of children. I spent many years working as a residential care worker for children that have been taken out of their homes due to neglect or abuse, usually. So I spent a lot of time worrying about the mental health of children around the same age as Minato, the protagonist or the main character in this movie. I spent many nights in psychiatric wards. I spent many days trying to support and decipher how a child was feeling and why they were acting a certain way. Like, I once wrestled lighters out of a kid's hand at a petrol station who had covered himself in gasoline in the hopes of, like, lighting himself on fire while he was in the middle of a mental health event. And I say that to say that to illustrate that I have been in a position of guardianship to kids with severe mental health issues that exhibit extreme behaviours. So I imagine that the feelings I had in this movie might be heightened due to my personal connection with the subject matter. This movie is about, like, Monster is about a young kid named Minato, played by Soya Kurokawa, who begins to act strangely. He begins to seclude himself. He begins to say really awful things about himself. He begins to harm himself in quite strange and confronting ways, changing his appearance and stuff. His beautiful and kind mother, Sari, played by Sakura Ando, is that she's a single mom. She's trying to connect with Minato. She's trying to decipher why he's gone about this sudden change. And all of a sudden, Minato hints that a teacher at his school, Hori, played by Ida Nagayama, has been physically abusing him. Now, Sari goes into full protection mode to ensure that something's done by the school about Hori and, to try and ensure her son's safety. And she ends up having these really weird, super procedural, and frankly fucking strange apologies by the staff. Like, they make these really weird, like, wussy sort of apologies. And it comes out in those meetings that basically Hori says, well, the reason I'm physically intervening with your son is because he is relentlessly harming and bullying another student in the class, Hori. So, which, like, spins Sari out, and she's like, well, not my son. And then we get to follow the story from multiple viewpoints as we try to work out, like, what's going on, who's in the right, why is Minato going through this sudden change. And it's so goddamn interesting. I have been in Sari's position. Like, I have worked with children who, due to trauma or a cognitive disability, they lash out and they harm people or animals. And it's one of the hardest positions to be in as a guardian or family member. Like, I reckon it's taken years off my life. it's something you love or in some ways have created is out there in the world causing harm and inflicting misery on others, and you just don't know what to do. Like, your stomach sinks every time they leave for school or leave the house. You're up at night racking your brain trying to think about what you could do better, or like at what point you should get other authorities involved or who you can go for help. It's just a fucking awful situation. I don't wish it upon anyone. And if you are the parent or guardian of a kid going through this and you're watching, I'm truly, truly sorry for you. Like, it is so tough, but I know that you're trying your best. It eventually does get easier, and there are resources out there to help. Well, I should say resources out there that helped me. I actually, now that I think about it, I might link some of them below. I mean, I know that's not what this channel does, but like, mental health is something that's very important to me. So I will link the resources that helped me in dealing with like quite extreme behaviours in children, specifically teens, below, just in case by chance they can help anyone or the parent of someone who is struggling is watching, because it's fucking tough. It's a fucking tough situation, and I feel for you. Now, this movie is fucking brilliant. Like, Koreeda he always knows how to get great performances out of child actors. He is like a cinematic alchemist. He's a master of on-screen chemistry. He nailed it with Shoplifters, and he's done it again here. I saw in an interview that he states that he gets the actor first, and then he writes the actions of the role to the actor's personality. Makes sense, because it gets results. Like, I believe every second of Sawyer Kurokawa's performance as Minato. You can tell how confused and upset he is throughout this movie. You get his whole personality, like, right off the bat, whether he's sharing a drink with his mum at the dinner table, or they're watching movies or weird ads, or he's talking to like a portrait of his recently deceased dad. You can tell that he's just this sensitive soul, and it's a testament to Kurokawa's skill that you are both wary of his character and you feel like a responsibility to that character. Like, that is high level acting from a kid. Hinata Haragi is also amazing as the adorably weird Yori. Like, I fucking loved Yori. They're such a beautifully little weird kid, and I love unabashedly weird kids, and that is what Yori is in this, and it's great. Eden Nagayama, who plays Hori, play the most similar role I can sort of link it to is Skarsgård in Barbarian. Like, everything the man does is a red flag, and then you think about it and you try to reassess it from his point of view, and then you drop it down to a beige flag or an amber flag, but then he fucking does something else and you push it back up to a red flag, and it just pinballs between feeling empathy for this guy because he's obviously a bit of a weirdo, but also disdain for his actions because he doesn't help himself. Like, you're sitting there going, you're a bad guy. Like, you're a bad guy. Don't do this. And then you're like, well, are you a bad guy, or are you just fucking clueless? You're just a bit of a weirdo who has no idea. It's some of the most intense story beats in this film are the ones that deal with things from his perspective. Everyone in this film is portrayed with care and empathy, but my MVP is Sakura Ando, who plays Minato's mum. She just oozes mum energy. Like, she's protective and understanding, even though she's terrified and she's at a breaking point. Every single thing in this movie she does is to keep Minato safe. And you feel for her. You just feel for her. The cinematography in this movie is stunning. There are multiple scenes in this abandoned rail car in the mountains, and it's like this weird juxtaposition of lush greenery and like total dereliction. Like, this rail car could be out of fucking Fallout, but it makes it feel like, because of the greenery, this almost like a clubhouse for the boys in this fantasy world. And it's fucking great. I also believe this was the last film that Ryuichi Sakamoto worked on before his passing. which is a shame because he was just a. You can tell in this he's just a master. He's an absolute master of score and music. Like the notes swelled when they needed to. They became like pointy and daggered when they needed to. He nailed the story beats. He nailed the sound of everything. It's a big part of this. Yeah, it's fucking great. There were times in this movie where the score started to get so intense that I instantly started questioning every character's safety. Like I was like, oh no, the music started. Who should I be watching? Who should I be looking out for? And that's what you want in a thriller. That's what you want. This is like most things Koreeda does. This is a masterclass in illuminating the differences in perspective between kids and adults. The mystery here kept me engaged for all like 2 hours and 7 minutes of its runtime. There were points in this movie where a character was missing, and I just sat there in the cinema like, oh, please be okay. Like, please be... It was like I was waiting for my own kid to come back from fucking clubbing or something. You know? Like, I was just like, please let them be okay. And it's not a comfortable feeling, but it is a feeling that is important in a movie about this subject. This movie stomped on my heart as often as it filled it. And Koreeda and writer Yuji Sakamoto, they should be proud for making such an engaging and important film because it's a fucking banger. This is a banger. I recommend watching this if you love domestic mysteries. One where an accusation is the basis, maybe like Gone Girl or The Girl on a Train. The Girl on the Train, I think it's called. If you like Koreeda's other films, specifically Shoplifters, this is him just doing Koreeda shit. He fucking nails it like he does with everything. If you like Shoplifters, go in. If you love films that explore complex and realistic character interactions from multiple viewpoints, like you can't just paint everyone with you're good, you're bad, you know, in this movie. It's really complex, it's really intense, and you get empathy for everyone. He's a master at showing that everyone can be an empathetic character, even if they're not good people. I don't recommend watching this if child mental health issues are a tough subject for you. This will be a tough watch. I loved this film and I'm glad I saw it, but I can understand why someone that is gone through either as a kid or has a kid going through mental health issues, why it could be triggering. Be warned going in, this could be tough. If you want a straight up horror film, this is a movie that changes its tone and shape often, so you won't get a straight up horror film. So, might not be for you if you're after like a slasher or a spook fest. Go for The Autopsy of Jane Doe instead. If you struggle with subtitles, probably not for you. This is a Japanese film. It's fucking amazing. I wish you would. But if you struggle with subtitles, I know that sometimes that is down to like... It's not just because people don't like subtitled films or films from other countries. It can be dyslexia. It can be all sorts of things. It could be ADHD. I get it. If you struggle with subtitles, don't go in. All in all, though, if you are down for a character piece that keeps you guessing, Monster should be at the top of your watch list. It makes you laugh. It fucking made me tear up. But I think the payoff was definitely worth the strain it puts on your emotions. If you're like, this sounds like it could be my film, but I want something scary. Straight up, a scary version of this movie. Check out The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. It's a severely underrated film about a teacher in a small Scandinavian town who gets accused of molesting a child. And it is fucking horrifying. Like, it is a horrifying mystery. And Mads acts his absolute arse off. It's probably my favourite movie that he has done. And it's just so good. Another movie in a similar vein, talking about like vibe, but is more on the like dark, disturbing thriller end of the scale, is Bong Joon-ho's Memories of a Murder. It's a crime thriller about police officers trying to solve a series of murders where the main suspect is a kid with a cognitive disability. It's a tough watch. It's so good. It's so good. It's a tough watch, but it's so good. And it was influenced by one of my favourite comic books of all time, From Hell by Alan Moore. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, check it out, especially because if you like Parasite, go back and have a look at this one. Memories of Murder is so fucking good. It fucking makes me want to watch it. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week for another review. Peace.